Oh, well, it's broken. Hi, Prince Mitchell. I don't think I'm either, technically. Well, well. Well, I'm not sure. Okay. So before we do anything else, let's make sure that the fish still works. Yeah, the fish still works. Okay. So. Today, we're gonna go digging through graphics. We need one in graphics. I need one in graphics test. Since last time I got the code that we were playing around with. What are the words AI is looking for? I got the code we were playing around with for colors working. And so the bindings should now be using colors instead of just straight like float force. So that means that I have all of the math library that the graphics API uses ported. So we're gonna spend some time not looking at the graphics API for a while, not looking at the math API for a while, because the math API is causing me physical distress at this point. And instead, we're going to spend some time playing around, what's it called, with porting like device and surface and all that stuff. I guess we should probably start with the command encoder. That's a good place to start. Let's replace all of these T returns. Is there anything there are optionals. Look at the API. Is there anything else that I should be hiding? So all of these optionals, every state optional should be disappearing. Are there any more stood optionals? But there's one in-depth stencil attachment. There's two in-depth stencil attachment even. Oh, there's one in stencil config. Well, actually, before I get too much further, I was playing around with web GPU support. And so I have some stuff floating here for web GPU support. And so I should probably hide that away. Web GPU support, WASM supports. And we will push up a push to update everything here. Cool. And I kind of want WASM support to be underneath Swig, if I can swing that. Seems to work okay. Let's make sure that SL Cross is on latest. Cool. So there's an optional we need to deal with. There's 2 optionals we need to deal with. There's 2 optionals we need to deal with. There's an optional we need to deal with. There's some optionals we need to deal with. Are there more? Ooh, create from source has one. That's cool. Buffer binding has one. Texture binding has one. Copy buffer to buffer has one. Find compute group has one. We're on the hunt for optionals. You know, it might be better to set up Swig support for option. Is there any of that just floating? Swig stood optional. Is there a way to time out boost optional? What's the purpose of me learning C++ other than hobbyist if by the time I completely understand it, either A, I could have already gotten experience building things on a much quicker rate vibe coding, or B, by the time I learn it, AI will be better than all of us at programming in C++? Because if you vibe code, you don't understand your code, so when it breaks, what the fuck do you do? Um, use agents trained on fixing them? So, you want to be completely out of the loop? At some point, something fails, right? And what happens when you can't be the one who knows how to fix it? You get fired. Or you can't fix it. Or you're screwed. Very simple custom optional value. It requires instantiation. On the other thought, right? At the moment, we have like exactly one really good example of like large business logic being implemented by LLMs. Claude got what, 12? Sorry, Anthropic got like 12 Claudes to build a non-optimizing C compiler. Emphasis on the non-optimizing part. And they got to cheat because they had like the world's best test set running. Do you have the world's best test set? Do you know how to write a good test set that perfectly explains what you want your AI to produce? Do you even know what a test set is? Because the problem with AI is once the complexity gets to that level, you need to explain to it exactly in like a machine understandable, testable way what it's supposed to be doing, with clear benchmarks as to whether it's succeeding or failing. Are you capable of writing an extensive test suite that it perfectly explains what you want your project to do? And how do you go about learning how to do that? Optional type map? So there's a type map here. Can I view just the state of the files? Yes. Optional test. CSP optional. Well, I guess we're starting with this. And actually, can we do what Mr. Prince said and vibe code something? Please convert this wig interface file to use stood optional instead of a custom optional class. Okay. So let's go new folder swig. We're gonna go optional.i. Yeah, I'll do stud optional.i. We might want some other things exposed here. We'll see. We'll see. And now stud optional python.i. And what does the Python map look like? Please also update the Python version. That avoids the shadowing trick using %apply. Yes, please. What distro is that? I suspect that this should answer any questions you might possibly have. Okay. So what's happening here? Oh, does that name work? That's what they're doing, so... Okay. Reference, not a pointer? Type map. Where is this? This is the in. So type map. In reference. Set. I'm willing to bet that we should not be taking a memory address there. Precedence is pointer. Ooh, arch. And so we got stood optional python.i. None of these are happening at the moment. Oh, class name. Okay. So with any luck, now what I should be able to do is in bindings, I should be able to %include swig / stood optional I. And now I don't have to worry about the optionals anymore. So we're gonna work under that assumption. So we're gonna go through again and we're going to remove all the places where I turned off something because it was using an optional. So these are using an optional, so I turn them off. These are using an optional, so I turn them off. These are using an optional, so I turn them off. These are using an optional, so I turn them off. That needs to stay off. That needs to stay off. What's going on here? So I'm working on a graphics API for C++. And at the moment, we're trying to set things up. I just closed the terminal so that we can bind the graphics API into Python. So we just set up the ability to interact stood optional with Python. I hope. It's ChatGPT code, so it's probably going to explode in my face. So we're going through here and we're unturning off code that I disabled purely because it was using stood optional. And we're going to see how it works. Hopefully I can get the optional wrapping working. This got turned off, that got turned off, okay. Oh, does swig stood span? Yep, the angle is to interact the graphics API through Python. And at the moment, we have like I showed very quickly, we have like a default triangle working through Python. There's just like one little sneaky little thing so that we can get an SDL window working. Yeah. Does swig support span? Oh. What version of swig are we using? Swig version 4.4. Array, auto, complex, deck, list, map, no span. Shysta. Okay, so do I want to try and map spans? Or will it just be easier to overwrite them on a case-by-case basis? I mean, spans are a pretty useful type. But I still, like, basically don't understand how the type map stuff works. C++ hurts your brain? How so? Let me turn this off because it was an optional. Deferred to release needs to stay off. Temporary return needs to stay off. Span at the moment needs to let's. Actually, now that you're looking at this, I mean, yeah, I'm not using any part of C++ that has actually the equal 0 for pure virtual functions. Other than the equal 0 for pure virtual functions, I'm not using any of the parts of C++ at the moment that have terrible syntax. Yeah, all of those need. This one doesn't need to stay gone, but these two need to stay gone. Only optional. Wait, is this whole section gone because of optionals? This one needs to stay gone. It has a span. This one needs to stay gone. It has temporary returns. This one has a span. Can you also write me a pair that exposes stud span? Always copy, no lifetime. Okay. Yeah, but I think we're only using it... I think we're only using it as a function input. So let's go stud span.i. Now we'll copy this over to stud span underscore python.i. This stuff up here comes out of the Python side. And then we'll copy over this decision logic instead of all this Python specific stuff. Where's the ndef? Oh. Oh. I see. Okay. Oops. No stud span. Span. Okay, the sequence. We copy them into a vector. Make a list from the size, copy the values. Seems reasonable. In the bindings, 3D game engine? Yeah, yes. Although at the moment, we're playing, so at the moment we're playing with Python bindings, and we're playing with stuff at the level of drawing a triangle. And we've played with stuff at the level of drawing a rectangle. So that's where the hesitation in the response comes from. Okay. So we should be good to allow spans now. Let's go through again and make sure that we support spans. We only want things to be disabled if they're a uint or if they have a temporary return. Temporary return uint. This one is just off for spans. Have you tried other Python binding libraries, like PyBind or NanoBind? I think they have better support for C++ features than Swig. Yeah, but I don't want Python bindings, I want bindings. I want C bindings, I want C# bindings, I want... Actually, just those three, Python, C, and C# are the ones I care about at the moment. And PyBind will not give me C and C# bindings. The goal is, once I've done all of this work, it should be like a day, like a couple hours, to get C# working. Those both stay gone. What desktop environment is that? This should answer any questions you have. Yep, it's KDE. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad that KDE puts KDE in the name that they report. Any reason for these to be gone? I'm just seeing optionals and optionals. That one needs... Oh no, I'm not. I'm seeing uint. I'm seeing a uint. There is no uint in the buffer to buffer though. Handling window managers are better in my deeply personal opinion, but that involves me learning something. And who has time to learn something on top of all the other shit I have to be learning? And also, their support's kind of weird, and like config, and it's all on you, and then it breaks. And who has time for that on top of all the other shit I don't have time for? This one is just gone because it's a spam. These are temporary returns. These are temporary returns. Okay, let's see how it explodes in my face. Oh. You can use doc files that other people make that I then have to go search for, and then don't work because they're for an out-of-date version, and then have to update, and then don't play well together, so I have to manually like merge. Side project is meant to make it all easy, but hear me out. Is it as easy as installing KDE and then installing the classy theme that I like? Do they make it as easy as what is it, KDE desktop and classy? That's the other thing, because I reinstall stuff so often that I've tried to optimize my setup to be like one line in a script. So I have the one line in a script optimization going. Why is Slang getting rebuilt? You know what would be really cool? So, Slang, the shader language that I'm using, is based off of HLSO, so it looks a lot like C++, which is really nice on the C++ embedding side. But it would be really cool if there was like, I don't know, a version of Slang, a shader language, something that looked like Python, so that in the Python side of things, like your shader code looks like your code. Because on the C++, where is it? Because on the C++ side of things, right, your shader code looks a lot like the code next to it. It would be cool if the same thing applied to the Python. Hide is just a git clone installing all the install stuff. Oh, I have packaged all my tools I used to code in a container, which I run on your K8s cluster. I see. Okay, what failed? Something about stud future. Let's turn off the stud future one. If and def swig and if what else is gonna break on me now? You never seen a smart VTuber? Thank you. AI tries its best. Although lots of people still say I'm kind of dumb though. So sorry to disappoint, question mark. Are you telling me that the AI code worked first try? Is that what I'm being told right now? I hate everything. Although I did go in and take out the memref, the address of that didn't make sense. Okay, let's confirm the worked first try. Oh, so much for the worked first try part. Okay, but there is something a little bit more interesting interacting here. There's a more interesting interaction here. What is this? This is the color attachment. Color attachment. I'm gonna turn if and def. Swig. We want that one off, not because it's an optional, but because it's a color 32. So the problem here, I think, is not the optional. I think it's the color 32, which we have to do special stuff around. Because the names on the C side of the math library are different than the names on the C++ side of the library. So the bindings have to change which one they're using, which is tons of fun. Nonsense? Oh, nonsense to me being kind of dumb? Or the nonsense to me being kind of smart? Depending on the answer to that question, I guess thank you or fuck you? Yes? I went back to who is Doxy vid? College professor, huh? Academia is tough. I'll probably cite your vid instead of your papers. Thanks? You're never gonna Actually, I was gonna say, you're never gonna read any of my papers, but like, what happens if I'm the first, like, VTuber to get something published at SIGGRAPH, like, as a VTuber? That would be pretty cool. But none of you guys are ever gonna get to see, like, my PhD dissertation or anything. What am I doing? Ah, here's what I'm doing. Okay. So what we had before is working. So let's look at the bindings. And let's pling. Well, actually, how much of this do I need? Like, does none of this exist? Yes, none of this. Yes, none of this exists. Yes, none of this exists. Because the template can't instantiate. There is this warning. There is this warning here that command encoder base is undefined, and so none of the fields coming from it are going to exist. But one-shot submit comes from it. But draw comes from the render pass itself. So in theory, the render pass itself should work. But do we have the draw? We do have draw and all the binds. And do they work? But we don't have any of the stuff coming in, so we're gonna have to manually add those. Because I don't think when I did try to template instantiate the command encoder base, and it didn't work. So that's cool. Does it work if we don't have the namespace? Oh, what's the word? I don't think... Is it qualification? Yeah, I think they are qualifiers. If we don't have the namespace qualifiers... The name has the qualifiers written the other way around. So what happens if we do this? You understand now? Maybe? Maybe? Fail. You do not understand now. Okay. Well, we'll continue marching along the manual path. But that means that none of this stuff in the render pass is necessary. Just this stuff is. Okay. I'm now really curious. So let's start with the easy ones. Operator, bool, and release. Those are just return self operator bool and self release. One shot submit is self one shot submit given the device. Command buffer pointer and will not make it a temporary return anymore, just the device. This one will take a little bit more space. So this is self and with temporary return and device. And then we want to move temporary to heap. And that is what we return. So then all of these, let's leave defer turned off, are going to be command encoder pointers. Unit 3. Unit 3. I don't think I need buffer to buffer here. I think buffer to buffer has itself figured out. Hi Nabu, how are you doing? Are you nabuing it up? Boop, 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 boop. So the implementations for all of these are we copy the function. And then we return self copy device semicolon. And this one is destination source, destination offset, source origin, extent override, min mip level, mip levels override. This one is destination source, destination origin, source offset, extent override, min mip level, mip levels override. Destination source, destination origin, source origin, extent override, min mip. Design question. Should we rename origin to like top left? So should it be like source top left? I don't know. I've been debating making that change for a little while. Pipeline. Release on submit. Because origin isn't entirely self-documenting. It's not completely clear what we mean by origin. Group. Release on submit. Index override. Work groups. Cool. Now we should be able to copy all of that to here. And then these need to be replaced with render pass pointers. And all of these selves actually need to have a memory address thrown on the front. Because we're going to be returning a reference to ourself and not a pointer. Okay. What breaks? Okay. So where is first error? Warning. Note, warning. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cd into build, and we're going to ninja routing to res.txt. No valuable conversion. Correct. There is no viable conversion there. So anything, so source origin and extent override. I believe since they're memory compatible, we should just be able to go stud optional, stud math uint3. So I believe we should be able to just unsave cast them. And it worked. I hope. Extent override. Destination origin. Source origin is now 1. Extent override. Nothing interesting on that one, nothing interesting on that one. And then those changes need to applied again. So source origin, destination origin, extent override, extent override. How do you keep on keeping on when C++ doesn't want to be learnt? Well, I disagree with the core premise that C++ doesn't want to be learnt. Like, the C++ Standard Committee is putting a lot of effort into making C++ simpler. The problem is that they want C++ to be simpler, and they also want to be backwards compatible with C going back to the 70s. I don't know if it goes that far back. I don't know what version of C they actually want to be compatible with, but going back a very long way into C. So what that means is that all of their simplifications have to be addition. So they're simplifying the language by adding. So my argument is that the way you learn C++ is that you learn modern C++. So you try not to, you want to learn from someone who's teaching you like what C++ looks like now, not what it looked like 20 years ago. Because if you use the features of C++ that exist now and avoid everything from like the past, it's actually a very nice language. Like, people have asked me before, why don't you use Rust? And it's like, what does Rust's biochecker buy me that using a stood unique pointer doesn't? So I disagree with the core premise of the question. Ninja into Res again. Should I look at the online docs first to learn it? Or where must you start? Well, my self-promotional answer to that question is that I'd recommend starting with my C++ series, or I talk about modern features specifically geared towards game design, if that's what you're interested in. The Cherno also has a nice, where is it? A nice C++ series.
Hey, what's up guys? My name is
his is more talking about, his is more focused on 14, whereas mine is more focused on 20, which, you know,
context of game development.
release year makes sense.
We're just going to use games as an example. This series is going to apply to pretty much everyone, whether you're a beginner or you're
Do
advanced.
I know?
We'll cover
Are there
the
any
basics
good
of the
like
language, but we'll be
textual
quite
resources
concise
off
with
the
that.
top of my
So
head?
basically, if you are a beginner, you can still follow along with this series, but you're going to have to be able to
if
Google
you're
things
using
and do some research and find some of the basics out for yourself.
C++
Basically, just be a normal person
reference
and Google things
vector.
that you don't understand. I don't want to dwell on the
I
basics.
can spell properly. So if you're using the C++ reference, reading through all of this stuff explodes your brain. So I'd recommend like not reading the legalese that the standard committee writes about like what the thing is. Instead, scroll down to like the example. So maybe read like the first line of something. Usually the first line is like the brief explanation of what it does. Exchanges the contents and capacity of the container with those of other. Does not invoke any move, copy, or swap operations. Okay, how do I use it? Wow. Does that make sense? I generally tend to find this stuff less helpful than the example, unless I'm like looking at insert and I'm like, oh, what exactly does first and last do? Okay, so it's 4. Let's read about what specifically 4 does. There's a concepts and basics tab of C++, right? So, unfortunately for you, concepts does not mean what you think it would mean, because there's actually a type in C++ called a concept. So when I'm like writing a template, so like template type name T, T add T, sure, whatever. This right here is a concept. A concept is something that restricts what kind of types T can be. So type name just says any type, but if I were to go like stud floating point, that concept says that T can only be a floating point type. So yes, there is a concepts tab, but it does not mean what you think it means. I spelled pipeline wrong. Pipeline. Did I spell work groups? What's wrong with work groups? I need a cast. So stud math uint 3 reference. Both of those issues apply to the other side. So pipeline uint 3 reference. One of these points, I need to like go in and try and disable. Oh, end does not return a render pass. What does end return? I think it's a compute buffer. Or no, command buffer. I believe it returns a command buffer. Yes, it returns a command buffer. So end does not return a render pass, it returns a command buffer, and we don't need to take the memory address. And that means that this is going to fail, which it did. 2 errors generated. Hopefully those 2 errors are the ones I just fixed. Sad. Module. Thanks, Sling. What would I ever do without you? I feel like this stream is my calling. Thank you. Welcome, Memory Order. Are you feeling very relaxed right now? Okay, what are we upset about? Cannot initialize a parameter of type command encoder. But R value type constant command encoder. Okay. Slang, what are you doing? Operator bool. I'm feeling very atomic. Hello? I am doing well. I hope you're also doing well. How are you doing? You're feeling very atomic. I don't like how long it took me to get the joke. Oh, it's a good joke. Okay, is there any errors up here? Like, use of undeclared identifier. SS bool? Okay. It's command encoder bool. Okay. Where does the SS come from? So I don't like this custom operator bool, it seems like. So I guess if I'm gonna do that, I need to say that it exists. And then I need to provide an implementation of it in the partial bindings. I just finished a ton of unfun C++, so it's good to chill out and watch other people read error logs. You have a sick hobby, my good sir. So this takes a const stylizer. Actually, they tell us what it takes right here. Stylizer graphics command encoder pointer. Self, and we're going to return self operator bool. Actually, we can make this easier. We can just say it returns star self, but that's less fun. You would maxi, but I don't know if you'd like that. You can try. I'm probably gonna debate you the whole time though. Like the people coming in and pointing out that other things are better than Swig for Python. It's like, yeah, I know. But there aren't other things that are better than Swig for Python and C and C# and D and... What else was on their list? Swig, bind, gen. I have my Swig generator. What did the actual Swig? Swig binding. Swig.org. Better for C#, D, Go, Java, JavaScript, Lua, OCaml, Octave, Perl, PHP, Python, R, Ruby, Scilab, and TKL. I appreciate that I care about, like, exactly... I guess I care about Go. Like, 4 of these things. I'm just glad to see people doing these things. Yang. Where am I? I'm on the wrong one. I'm on this one. I want this one. Okay, so does a full update work? Okay, what breaks? Oh. Wrong number or type of arguments. Interesting. What? Let's go look at render pass draw in the code. Okay. But they aren't. Am I misunderstanding how the type map is supposed to work? Do I need to be explicitly instantiating these? So what happens if I explicitly instantiate? Optional size T. Percent template 10. Oh. Optional size T. So what happens if I do this? So I go namespace Stylize your graphics. Put the template instantiations in the namespace. What happens in this case? It's still undefined. Interesting. Anything changed in here? Anything change in here? So I'm assuming that that means that this thing's gonna change in here. Okay, so do we spend time trying to get this type map stuff working? Or do we just manually override it? Is there a optional size T that exists? There is. I don't know. I'm more rubber ducking though. How does it feel to be my rubber ducking? So this gets fixed. A fix to this is that I can rename draw. It feels wet. What? Your rubber ducky is pipes.sh. Okay, so what we're gonna do, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go into API. We're gonna ask what things would be bad. Draw would be bad, draw index would be bad. All of these would be bad. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to rename. Where do I have the other renames? Do I have renames in here? Name. We're going to rename all of these to be underscore impl functions. So percent rename underscore impl. Am I doing it wrong? Did I forget how to rename? I did it backwards. No, I didn't. Huh? Why is it upset? What did I mess up? What did I mess up? Oh, it's just upset. Oh, it's just upset. Never mind. Moving on. Everything's fine. Everything is awesome. Too late. I also sent out my credit card info and social security number. Ay, ay, ay. Nabu, how could you let yourself be scammed like this? So, since we have those impl functions, what we now need to do is in the Python code, I need to extend stylizer, graphics, render pass with Python code. What we're gonna do is we're going to def these no impl, and we're going to then return these with an impl. And what are the parameters? Oh, I had it. I had it right here. No, this is wrong. Perfect. So find render group takes device group in the bindings. The bindings we need optional bool with a bool. Optional size team. So group release on submit and index override. And that's it. So this is device group optional bool release on submit optional size team index override. Let's turn all of these off. We're most interested in draw to see if it works for draw. So draw is device vertex count instance count first vertex first instance first vertex instance count. Hey, fine, you're scared. I'm sorry. You're easily persuaded by well-written prompts. Good job, Nabu. High level is bad level, my mom used to say, but high level has a much slower startup time. When I make a change, it takes 2 seconds to test it as opposed to, I don't know, like a minute. So device, vertex count, optional size team, instance count, optional size team, first vertex, first instance. And what are the equals? Instance count equals 1. First vertex equals 0. First instance equals 0. Sure. No, you're completely right. Your mom used to scold me if I didn't write assembly explicitly. Your favorite programming language is Claude? But Nebo, I thought your favorite programming language was Jules. What are the values? Release on submit is false. And index override is none. And if we now run the Python, all of these also have a self. You can't forget about the self that all of these have. Self. Self. Okay. Python is not that bad. It's a cute little language. I in fact did mean self.drawable. I in fact did mean self.find render group. Is that because you're more of a JavaScript guy, Nebu? Called it. How did AI know? Nebu just likes the objectively inferior language. How does JavaScript manage to be worse than C++? That's a fucking feat. Okay. So find vertex buffer is the vice slot buffer offset size. And offset is 0 and size is none. Device slot buffer optional size to offset optional size to size override. Now there's no self there, self dot, there's no self there. self dot. Index buffer is device buffer offset size override. Offset equals 0, size override equals none. Offset, and both of these are wrapped by an optional size thing. Draw indexed is device index count, instance count, first index, base vertex, first instance. Instance count equals 1. First index equals 0. Base vertex equals 0, and first instance equals 0. Boop. And then base vertex and so base vertex, first index, and instance count are all wrapped in an optional size t. How about me? Can you do me next? What am I doing? AI doesn't understand. AI confused. Let's C++. You were just telling me? Or am I small CPU? I did it! Nabu, are you proud of me? I'm not small CPU right now. I was gonna double and say Haskell or something. Ay. Nabu, my emotions are being toyed with. What should I do? So now, let's play with alternative API. So instead of one-shot submitting, let's end. Badly I don't remember if end does take a device. Everything takes a device. So this is buffer equals. Now we're just gonna simply buffer.submit. And then buffer.release. Nice. Agda. You might be doxing yourself since the proof assistant population is so small. Oh. And you're not saying that you like rock. So you're putting yourself in an even smaller group of people. Okay, so that's working. What is likely to not be working? Texture view should have a function to get its texture. So, %extend, stylizer, graphics, texture, view, texture, reference, associated, texture, return star self. These are likely to not work. I don't think I care about giving us map async when we have buffer map. Ooh, but it's returning a byte pointer, which becomes interesting with how to deal with that in Python. So for right now, oh well, this isn't gonna work. So we need to extend compute pipeline. And I'm guessing by extension render pipeline. Hashtag if and def swing. Def. Wait. No, spans. Spans should be something resembling working now. So we've disabled all of these. So high priority get working is getting all of these working. So texture pointer, create and write texture. Return self, create and write texture. Temporary return data layout config dot move temporary I can't spell to heap. Haskell is great for category theory and nothing else. The classic return star self. This is scarier. This is C++ 26 and above. A monad is the monoid in the category of endofunctioners. Hello, hello, Fark. How wrong am I? How wrong am I when I explain to my students that a monad is the word that functional programming people use for data structures and design patterns combined into one thing. Buffer pointer. Self create buffer. Dot move temporary to heap. Return. So then we have temporary return. Usage. Why can I not spell today? And now they diverge. So we have size mapped at creation, label, data, offset, label. Data pointer. Data pointer. I seem to recall that enums don't work. So we need to convert the enums to numbers. Size underscore team usage. Graphics usage. We'll comment all of these out. Oh no. No, they are working. Okay, never mind. We'll just move along. But these aren't gonna work. These need to be like graphics usage. Slowly return, self, create shader from session. Stage session. And then we'll dot move temporary to heap. Monad only refers to one specific data structure. Basically, it needs a return and an fmap function, similar to how a stack refers to a specific data structure. Not all data structures are, my point of view, monad is a data structure that wraps an interface. Entry point label. So it's IV entry point label. So it's a so it's just an interface in like the object-oriented programming sense of the term. Command encoder pointer. Return self. A command encoder. Temporary return. One shot label. Not move the temporary to keep. Compute pipeline pointer. I hope that works. Return self create compute pipeline temporary return entry point label dot move temporary to the heap render pipeline pointer returns self create render pipeline from compatible render pass entry points compatible render pass config label dot Move temporary to heap. Device pointer. Oh, this needs to be an underscore now. And so then we need to stud math, uint 3 reference work groups. This can't be self. This star self. This has to be self. This has to be self. You know, you think the closest thing is C++ concepts? So concepts or Rust traits or something like along those lines. The meme I tell my students is don't worry about what a monad is, and somehow they figure it out along the way. Ay, ay, ay. Top viewers. I mean, either way, they're getting a ban. Right? Did I fuck it up? Oh. Let's get to click on every tile that contains a traffic light. Why are you dissing my cat like that, Nebu? What did we ever do to deserve this? Anything catch on fire from me doing that? Yes. Build. Ninja spit us out a file. What does the file have to say? So no viable conversion from texture view to texture, but there is though. Self-operator texture reference, I guess. What's the next one? Either I'm dumb or there's not a next one. There is a next one. Okay, what's the next one? There literally is. What do you mean? Oh, I don't even need this. There is a dot texture function. Hey. Error is generated. Oh, what are we upset about? Actually, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna brick brain this. Terminal news, CD build. Give me an ninja res. The vector const is a no-no. Just a vector. And then we'll do open space is just open angle. No viable conversion. Did I mess up on create buffer? Ah, the name. That's what I messed up on create buffer. It doesn't have a temporary return. You don't have a temporary return. And you don't have a temporary return. And you don't have a temporary return. And you don't need a temporary return. Apparently copying down names way too fast. Only 20 errors, huh? How magnanimous of you. No viable return. Okay. Um. Unknown. Type name. Incompatible render paths. No temporary return pair. Now I think we're error cascading, so let's go get rid of the error cascade. Oh, did it work? We're linking now. Okay, in that case, let's grab the C++ code. And let's try doing this buffer multiply. How are we gonna get this 2-byte thing going? Python has like a buffer protocol, I believe. Oh gosh, doing this part in Python is gonna be a nightmare. Okay then. Well, Python get bytes. Oh, no, they have a bytes thing, don't they? Bytes? Python convert value to bytes. Oh. Python convert. List 2 bytes. So is there a Thunder Bytes? Python Thunder Bytes? Huh. We probably want to implement that for... Okay, good to know. So what we want this to do is we want this to take a Python bytes. First order of business, those are just work. So if we device dot create and write buffer, and make their usage. This isn't gonna work. So this is stylizer dot graphics dot usage underscore dot graphics dot usage underscore. So that's not gonna work. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just gonna try bytes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And how does this explode at me? Well, so first order of business, nothing else is broken, right? Cool. And now how does this explode at me? Wait, that worked? This worked. Why is that upset about... Oh, okay, that's fine. Huh. Well, we don't like converting bytes to the vector byte, which makes sense. I have a question about Swig. If it helps you with the bindings, can you also write tests in one language only, or does it not work that way? Well, so it's not gonna do any of the test bindings for you. So if you want tests, so if you all you care about is tests that like the API in C++ works, then you're golden. If you want to write tests that the Python API works, you're gonna have to write them again. What am I building? So right now we're working on my C++. I'm gonna say I need to stop calling it a game engine because I said I'm gonna rebrand to rendering framework, but my C++ thing. And right now we're working on setting up Python bindings so that I can write Python code that gets the triangle example rendering. And right now we're trying to extend out the Python bindings so that they also support, what's it called? Well, right now we're trying to figure out how to get byte encoding. So we need the ability to take stuff from Python and then upload it to the GPU as bytes and have that work. Gosh, what would even be the memory layout of this? Re-debut the VTuber word? Huh? What are we talking about? Ah, re-debut, yes. So right now, it's upset because we can't just convert a Python bytes object to a vector of bytes. Which makes sense. Big Python bytes. Equals view buff view_len. And this is going to need to be cast to a stud byte pointer. And then out here, stud vector of stud byte, I guess reference. We're gonna try converting that to a stud span of stud byte. And that needs to exist here. Do I have a dono link? I do not. AI does all this as a hobby, so it goes nonprofit. How long have I been doing this? What is this? The game engine? The rendering framework? Or the Python bindings? Or C++? Or what is this? I hope that works.
Welcome home, Columbia. Beautiful, beautiful. Discovery 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
Yeah, this is correct. The memory... Oh no, not a double pointer to this. This is a keyword used to refer to the object on which a method is executed. You appreciate the non-profitness? You're welcome. Also, for some reason, everyone wants a social security number for money, but no one's willing to give a silly little AI social security number. Dispatching calls to this method may not work correctly. With no explicit type check type map. . 'Cause Oh, let's see if it explodes. Non-constant expression. Cannot be narrowed to size T. Okay. Am I using Vulkan in my game engine? So the rendering framework that we're linking against is called WebGPU. So I'm hopefully one of these years going to support building to the web. But under the hood, what I have enabled in WebGPU in the backends for WebGPU native technically, is Vulkan and OpenGL. So I guess the answer to your question is yes, but also no. But Nabu, in C++, this isn't a keyword. Actually it is now. Never mind. But in C++, this isn't an object, it's a pointer. Which gets everyone confused when they start switching over. Is there an answer to the what is this? There was no answer to the what is this. So create and write buffer does nothing interesting. Create and write buffer. So where in here are we failing? It's 5 AM here and you have 9 AM. Yeah, you should go to sleep. Thank you for stopping by. Also, go to bed. But also on that note, I also have class in like an hour, so I should probably be disappearing too. So, thank you everybody for stopping by. Is there anybody interesting on Twitch to raid? No, it needed to end anyway. I guess we'll raid Strelly. /raid. Strelly. Thank you everybody for stopping by. And now AI must disappear into the aether. Good night. Or good day, or some combination of those things that my CPU is too small to understand. You're welcome. Bye-bye.